Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Beard of Darkness Book Reviews. I'm Matt, your host, and I'm so excited to have this gentleman, a wonderful, wonderful account that I found on Instagram, and I love it. I love his content. How are you tonight, Noah?
I'm good, Matt, dude. Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome. Never I don't do stuff like this, so this is pretty dope.
What do
Not
you
to
do now?
pre-record. Yeah, I guess.
The nice
Yeah,
thing
I'll
about
be
this
chill
is
though.
like I don't have to like edit it after we're done. I hit end,
That's
bro, and
nice.
it's up.
That's nice. See, I'm editing. I'm taking 8 or 9 minute videos every day to edit them down to 90 seconds. So
Yeah,
that's a
and you do good. I love your edits.
thanks. I appreciate it.
People who
Appreciate it.
don't know, like there's an art to it, and you have to say certain thing, comment below, so there's interaction, and you hit all those boxes, man.
Yeah, that's the big thing for me. It's like I try to like I try to do something every day. It doesn't always happen, but like if I have time, it's my creative outlet. So it's like it, like I'm happy to do it, right? Like
Yeah,
so if I'm not like if I'm like not feeling it, I'm not gonna do anything. So yeah, just know everything I post is like genuine. Like I wanted to do it. And yeah, I'm always super happy to talk to people in comments. And I just make sure that's a big part of my page because that's something that's sorely lacking on Bookstagram.
ooh, yeah,
Especially with bigger channels.
yeah. That interaction, dudes. Like
Hmm.
before, I had like I binged Booktube, man. Like
Yeah.
just looked up to so many people, like Mike's book reviews, Matt's fantasy book
Oh yeah, I
reviews.
love Matt and Mike. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. And then getting to talk with them, whether it's through their comments or having them on like I have, you feel special. You do. There's that little bit
Yeah.
of personal touch to it. So I think that's a wonderful part of your page. And I think that you're focusing on that. And that's great.
Yeah, that was always big for me from the start. I mean, even when I only had like 100 followers when I first started, like I my biggest tip to people always, because people ask me, it's like, because I've been there what almost 7 months now since I've been making content on books, and people ask like why I blew up so fast, and I tell them it's like because I talk to people. Like that's
That's it.
that's really what people want because if you make those connections, like they're going to give back to you too, right? Like, they're going to comment, they're going to share your stuff, and
Yeah.
um, that's in my life that's literally my job. I'm a pharmaceutical rep, but so I just like carry that over. Like my job is to like make people feel special, and that's what I try to do, and that's what I enjoy doing. So
And
yeah,
having that, the gift of gab, I call it, which I have and you have too.
yeah.
It's something that aids in this journey we're on, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's so funny when like it's like so I'm in the midst of this like bromancy month thing that I'm doing
Uh-huh.
right now where I'm like I was a known romancy hater, um just because like I felt like it was taking my places in the bookstores away from me just because it's like all over, right? And
Sure.
I was always just like I was just complaining about it. It just was like wasn't the vibe I wanted to give. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna spend a whole month reading romancy. And it's funny because like I've connected with some great indie authors like in doing this and found some really good books. And mentioning like that feeling special, it's so funny. Like this author, Heir of Sun and Moon by Janessa Wren. Really great
Ooh,
book. Just did a review on it. Um, she messaged me and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you like are okay with me talking to you." I'm like, what are you talking about? Like
right.
you're the author. You're the author. What are you talking about, man?
But that's that
Um,
special part, man. It
yeah.
feels so
Yeah.
cool. And like authors are those people for us, just like the viewers.
Yeah, and I love when authors get back to me, dude. Like that's what's so great about the indie community, I think, especially with books. Like obviously I read the big stuff too. I always tell people that. Like I'm never gonna I'm yeah, Darkblade. I'm actually I'm buddy reading that next month with someone. I'm having Andy send it to someone. Um,
It's so fun.
but it's like that indie, just like being able to talk with like Phil and Michael and Andy and like JD and GS. It's like all these people, like it makes it so much more personal and so much more fun. And like when I first started, like they were all so gracious to me and stuff with like my stupid first reviews that I did. Like if you scroll all the way down my page, like they are atrocious. But
You're
like
preaching to the choir, my
but
friend.
but these dudes like they appreciated it, and because they did, now they get the benefit of me like always hyping them up because I love them. I love working with them.
That's it right there, man. Once you become like a fan of Well, I think this is how it started for me. I really didn't understand what self-publishing was
Sure. Yeah.
at all. Like I get into this where I'm going to do a couple reviews here and there, and now I mainly do, and I'm starting to do more. I never had this bookshelf. You're like the fourth person I've talked with
Looks good.
about all this. Thank you. And now I have somewhere pretty to do those reviews and
Yeah.
TikTok and stuff, which is kind of, new thing for me. But once you make those relationships, especially with self-pub authors, you're like, okay, there was this preconceived notion for some reason in my head that self-pub meant less quality. And
Yeah.
sure, you're going to find that, right? Because those standards are set by the author. And not every self-pub book that you're going to grab is going to be good. And
Correct.
on the opposite spectrum, honestly, probably my top favorite, there's over half of them are self-pub.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, it's finding creators. And this is what I tell people, like, because I know some people are afraid of indie published books. And it's so funny because I'm like a big video game guy too. Like, I remember when people were afraid of indie video games. And now it's like some of the best games are indie games. Like,
I believe the one I'm playing right now is indie. Tell me if I'm wrong.
What are you playing?
Black Myth Wukong.
So, okay, yes, that was independently developed, but I think it got bought by a publisher, which is still, technically that's indie because that can happen with indie writers too.
It's gangster.
So yeah, that game does look sick actually.
It's so good.
My video game knowledge has been lacking the last like 6 or 7 months because my daughter's 7 months old, my youngest. But yeah, like with the indie thing, like I always tell people, like you have to find creators that you like, and that's what I did early on Bookstagram. Like I found creators who reviewed these indie books, and so I just try to be a place where, like, I'm gonna filter that stuff for you. Like, trust me, if I say this is good, like it's gonna be. If you like what I like, you're going to like this book, and that's
I
kind of my
love that.
thing. That's kind of my thing. Yes, it is funded by the Chinese government, but
I
it's made
I
by
had
small
no
people. Let's
idea.
be. It's a little. We don't need to get into the politics of Black Myth Wukong.
Sure. But oh wow, so yeah, that's crazy. I'll have to look more into that. But I like what you said, and I also try to be that person amongst so many others like you and so many others that read self-pub book and recommend them because
Yeah,
again, I think people who, especially at the beginning of changing self-pub equals less quality, there need to be trustable voices in the hemisphere, if you will.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
so they look to pages like yours or mine or so many others that say, okay, these are self-pub. They've got a relationship with the author, which I see in your page and I have on my page, and again, so many others. These must really be good. I trust him. He's had a lot of good recommendations. Let's dive into this and start changing that preconceived notion to self-pub.
yeah, and that's really important, and that's what I want to do. Like, I will on my page, like if I read an indie book and don't like it, I'm not even gonna like mention it. Like it's just because I know that person put a ton of time in their life into it. It's important to them. Was especially more relevant earlier on. Now that I'm a little bit bigger, I've kind of been more discerning on what I take and don't take.
My
Um,
wife wanted me to ask you that question, dude,
yeah,
specifically because
yeah,
she
yeah.
just started her own page too, and she
Uh-huh.
wants to talk about books, but she wanted me to ask you if
Yeah.
it's something you're not feeling, do you talk about it still?
I don't. Unless it is a traditionally published book.
Sure.
I think if it's traditionally published, I think it's fair game because at that point they are paid, they have an editor paid for them. There is a bigger company outside of just that author that should be overwatching them with developmental editing, with line editing. If that stuff is shows up in traditionally published books that are making a lot of money for this publisher, I will give my real opinion on it. If it is an indie published author, and I know this because like I've looked into publishing my book. I
Mhm.
haven't done it yet, but I understand what goes into that, and I'm not going to tear this person down just because maybe it's not my type of book. Um,
I
you know,
love that aspect. I love
yeah,
that point of view on it.
yeah, and I just never want to do that for a indie author. I just don't think it's my place, right? Because they've put so much time and love into that, and I know the traditionally published ones have too. But again, they should have safety nets, and if their safety nets aren't there, that's the publisher's problem, not that author's problem.
Yes, I love that aspect, and I'm very much the same way. If it's something now, if I catch something, let's say grammar wise or a hole in the plot that I feel there she is. That's my second half, my lovely wife. Yes, she likes that outlet too. So that was her question specifically for you tonight.
Yeah,
Um, I have a very similar way of doing things. I usually don't find anything less than a 3-star. At least I have. Now I'm a slow reader because, and we'll get into this with you as well. But 4
Yeah.
kids,
Yep. Yep.
it's hard to find that time to just binge books.
Yeah.
So let's start off here. Tell us a little bit about yourself. You said you're a pharmaceutical rep. What else about yourself?
Yeah, I'm a Midwest boy at heart. I moved to the Pacific Northwest when my mom went back to school when I was in middle school. Um, so we moved out here and they stayed out here. So I stayed out here. I went to college in Seattle. That's where I met my wife. So I've just been in the Pacific Northwest for over half my life at this point. So I'm still deep down. I just want hot dogs and pizza, and I still love the Packers,
Yeah.
but I'm not moving from the Pacific Northwest. It's like I live in a great part of the country, and
And if you guys don't
um,
believe him, read the sign behind him.
oh yeah, yeah, Kevin, yeah,
There it is. He wants to be on a beach and eat hot dogs. Man, I can relate.
dude, 100%, 100%. But yeah, so me and my wife, we got married right before she started grad school. Um, it was either going to be me and her or her going to grad school. I was an English major. I focus in writing and Victorian literature. And I was planning to be a professor. That was kind of my track in college. And she is an occupational therapist, which is actually a super hard program to get into in grad
Yeah,
school. So we weren't sure if she was going to get into grad school. She ended up getting into grad school. Um, and so that's why I'm not a teacher. I had to get a job.
sure.
So yeah, and somehow I've stumbled up the corporate ladder to be where I'm at now. And it's
You've
like
got
at this point it's irresponsible to leave. So
so you've
that's
got
where
little
I'm at.
ones?
Yeah, yeah. I have a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 7-month-old. And my oldest just started kindergarten this year. So this is her
Bro,
first
we
year.
are so much like our story is crazy. We have a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 1-year-old.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah,
our
right around
oldest
the same.
started kindergarten this year. Um, yeah, that's nuts how close on the spectrum our timeline is. That's nuts, dude. So, what would you say is a good way to describe your day to day with the kids? Like,
Ooh,
what would you say?
ooh, yeah. Okay. So
And
as
then
a
I'll give you
pharmacist,
mine.
yeah, yeah. So as how my job works is I basically have a routing schedule. So I know where I'm at every day, every week, what times. I know when I'm somewhere overnight. It doesn't happen very often, but sometimes I'm over in Eastern Washington, whatever it may be. Um, Now I'm the morning dad and I'm the nighttime dad. So
Okay.
my wife works 2 days a week. So she's home with the kids Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. But I deal with kids in the morning and I deal with kids in the evenings. So I try to squeeze as much time as I can with the kids. I do have office days at home. So whenever I get a chance, like if my wife's out there with the kids, I'm going to go out there. I mean, my number one goal as a dad is just to make sure my kids know I'm present.
Ah,
Um, and that's like super important to me. So I want them always to feel that from me. My dad was very involved in my life. So, and I know how important that is for kids. So,
oh,
um, for me, it's like, I want them to know that dad's always there, even if he's working for a little bit, when he's going to be back, when he's
dude.
going to be back.
Anybody who's been watching my channel for a while, everything that you just kind of given us a window into your day to day, I absolutely treasure that, and especially when I can relate to a dad. So I just want to thank you, man, for talking about it because it's a beautiful thing. And I was gonna say, I guess controlled or attempted controlled
Yeah.
chaos, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
kind of where we're at now. Me and my wife are lucky enough, like she's a graphic designer. And so we both work at home.
That's
So
nice.
her and I are always together, and the kids, when they're home, they're always around us. So very similar, man. And they're the center of everything once they're there. So it's
Yeah,
a beautiful but stressful thing, and
for sure.
I just look up to it, man. So I think that's awesome.
For sure. Yeah, I appreciate it. It's I always like to tell people too, like any Instagram stuff is happening after the kids are in bed or
Right.
before they're up. I'm not like get out of my office, I'm recording. I'm a
I've
late
tried
night
that. It don't
recorder.
work. Yeah,
No,
I've tried.
no.
It's like I'll read a sentence or I'll like start a video, and there's just after a minute, like you try it 5 or 6 times,
Mm,
there's just no reason to start it. Not that
nope.
that's like a burden, but after a while, it's like
No.
okay,
Yeah.
instead of getting like frustrated, right? Because they're just naturally doing what they're doing because they're
Yeah.
kids. You
Yeah.
find
No, no.
those times that are optimal.
Yeah, and it's actually been really fun with my oldest just growing up because I don't know if you like scroll down. Instagram's weird. Like I love making book content on Instagram. Like I think that's kind of like where we're moving towards book wise, social media wise when it comes to book stuff. So I'm trying to ride that wave early. But if you scroll down, like they don't let us like playlist stuff yet, right? Someday they'll let us playlist our reels, I bet. But if you scroll down, like as my daughters got older and we've been reading more books together, I've been having her do reviews.
Oh,
Um,
wow, I haven't seen that
so
yet.
yeah, if you scroll down, if you just look for something called, it'll say like Violet reviews on the cover. But she's done a couple reviews. I never force her to do this. I want to make that very clear. We only do reviews if she wants to do it.
Sure.
But she's done a few, and both times publishers have sent her boxes. So it's always been really funny. Like yeah, so she's like always asking me to do reviews. I'm like, Violet, they're not going to send you a box of books every time you do a review. I want to make that clear.
Sure.
But
But when they
it's
do,
been fun. Yeah, yeah.
and it kind of touches on Jeff. I had Jeff on a few days ago, and he reached out to my moderator here, on a guy that keeps me on track and really who has been an inspiration for me because he's a very good writer, E.L. Montague, and he's got. I'll throw his books up here in a few minutes. They're behind
Yeah.
me, but he sent Jeff the books, and that's something that starts happening when you have a book review
Oh God.
channel quite a bit, right?
Oh
As you
God.
can, I'm sure you have experienced, and
Oh, yeah.
he's over the moon, and I'm so glad that he is. And I can't
Yeah.
imagine a child, you know.
Oh man, she went crazy. She went crazy. She's got yeah. It's so funny. But I know early on in Bookstagram when I was doing it, when I got a book, I was just like so hyped. Now
Oh,
I'm just like nervous because I'm like, oh God, I gotta read this. So I'm like
yeah,
I'm
or
much more discerning now about who sends me stuff and who can't.
yes, because like after a little, actually, happens kind of quick if you catch it. And I didn't catch it at first. I have a lot of books which have been here for a while that I haven't read because
Yeah.
I didn't learn that sometimes you have to say, "Hey, look, I would absolutely love to put your book on my shelf, but I may not get to it for a year or two,
Yeah.
or whatever your timeline looks like." And I think that's an important part.
Be very
And
clear.
yes, and I think that's respectful. Now, I know that some people, I've seen the exact opposite. It's just like, how many can I grab? And I hate that. I hate to
Yeah,
see
yeah,
that.
no. No, no, I
Um,
don't like that. I don't like that.
yeah, but it's very, very, you feel special when it happens. And I still do. Anytime I look in the mail and I see an author sent book,
Oh
it's
yeah.
like they've trusted me with their baby.
Yeah, yeah, and I like I'm always so appreciative when they send it. Eventually, yeah. At this point, I've like taken my contact information off of. It's not public anymore, just
Right.
so like they have to talk to me first, because I'm happy to. I always. Oh shit! You just throwing
It's all
something.
good. Happens all the time. Go ahead.
I when I talk to them, I'm very honest. Like, hey, like you can send this to me now, but I may not get to it. Like as of right now, like I'm probably not gonna be able to get to it till next March. So if you have like a deadline you're looking for, it's probably not gonna work.
Mhm.
So I'm just very straightforward with the authors when they reach out to me. Um,
John in the
now,
comments, I wanted to just shout his book out real quick. That's John, The Black Crown, Age of Adventures, Book One. It's a thicky, thick girl, boy, whatever it
oh,
is.
I like a thick book.
Yeah, dude, me too. Orcs, 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 and more orcs. That's his
Orcs, orcs,
game.
orcs, and more orcs.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't
Okay.
mean
I
to
gotta
interrupt you,
remember
but I
that.
had to
No,
shout
no,
him
you're
out.
good. You're good. No. And yeah, I mean that's just what I'm saying. I'm just careful about what I take because I don't want to disappoint at this point. Like at first when I was smaller, like in the first few months, it was like yeah, I can read it. I got time. But now it's just
Right.
like I never thought I'd be at a place where I'm like in demand for authors for me to talk about their books. So it's just
Well,
very interesting to be in that place.
and it's hard to understand too before you have a channel where a lot of authors get a hold of you, just the number of freaking books out there, dude. There's a
Yeah.
wave, an ocean.
Yeah.
And they all deserve to be represented. And well, I'm not. I think a lot of them deserve to be represented. I think that if you're just publishing something to publish it with no quality and this and that,
Yeah.
take maybe send that out and get some criticism back. But yeah, man, I've also found that if I say, hey, it's probably not going to be reviewed for a little while, it's still an honor for them to send the book
Yeah,
with a
for sure.
maybe. Has
For
that
sure.
been your experience?
Yes, yes, for the most part. Now I do just like to give the caveat, like, I understand how expensive it is to send someone a book.
Yeah,
Now, in the United States, so you had Livia J. Elliott on
yeah,
yesterday. She's so sweet.
she
Um,
is.
but she's in Australia, right? And she wanted to send me her novella, and I'm just like, I don't know exactly when I can get to this. Like, I feel honored you want to send this to me, because Joshua Walker from he's
Dude,
another
yes.
indie author. Yeah, he recommended her. All these dude Aussies. I just talk to Aussies all the time. I don't know. These Australians are crazy. Um, but yeah, exactly, Exile.
That's my
So
dude.
he recommended her, and I'm like, it's gonna cost her so much to send me this. So I'm just like, I told her, I'm like, I don't know exactly when I'm gonna read this, but she still wanted to send it, like from Australia, which is crazy. It's like, oh my gosh, okay, this is real. Like
And I can
you,
understand why too. Like, let's say I'm in Australia and I get a hold of you
yeah,
and you're like, hey, it may be a year. I still want that book to potentially get some marketing by you taking a picture of it, by
sure,
you
for
putting
sure.
it on your shelf and people seeing it. Like, that is just when it gets down to marketing, especially with self pubs, they do what they can with everything they can.
Yeah, yeah, and like I've rarely had bad interactions with authors
Yeah.
on book stuff. I mean, the only bad interactions I have is when they send you a link to buy their book and they ask you to review it. That's a little awkward, because it's like, well, I'm not just gonna like buy your book, dude. I don't know anything about
Right.
it.
Right. No, I
That's
get
always a
that.
little weird. Then they're like trying to sell me. I'm like, I just don't really have time for this, unfortunately. But for the
You know,
most part, I mean, everybody's super genuine and like just
so
straightforward.
I
So
wanted to get the name of that book. It's C.A. You recommended a book just a minute ago that you had read, and I really wanted to re-see what that was.
what book? I read so
It
many
was an
books.
indie book. I believe you were reading for Bromantasy or
Oh,
Romantasy.
Heir of Sun and Moon
Heir of
by
Sun and Moon.
by Janessa Wren. I posted that review just this morning, actually. Um, and that was a romancing book. And she's just a great writer. So it was like, obviously, I'm going to praise this book highly, because I review a little differently than most people on Bookstagram.
Mhm.
A lot of Bookstagram is what we call vibe reviewing.
Okay.
I'm not a vibe reviewer.
So what does
Um,
that mean?
So let's say like this book feels like a 4-star to me. Like I loved it, but I didn't like, this isn't like my Roman Empire, so I'm giving it 4 stars. Um, I use the call pile system, which you can look up if you want to know what a call pile system is.
Okay.
It's basically a way to break down like character world building, and then prose, and there's different categories in there, right? And you're giving scores in each of those categories, and it averages out for you. And then you can tweak it based on enjoyment for your last part of your call pile, the E at the end for enjoyment. So I use a call pile rating system. So a lot of stuff that I review, so like Air of Sun and Moon, like that's not really my vibe of book, but she's a really good writer, and the prose was really good, and the characters were built really well. So she's going to get a high rating from me, even though it's not necessarily my kind of book.
I
Um,
love that.
yeah, so that's why I think it's nice. That's why I like doing that over vibe ratings, because I feel like I'm going to give the wrong impression of a book, right? Like I don't want you to be scared off because it's romantic. Just know from someone who has studied literature, and that's what they did in school and was planning to do as a career. Like I can read a book objectively and just be like, this is good or this is not good.
Ah,
Um, so that's really what I try to do in my reviews, and that's something that I started doing in the last 3 months or so. At first, I was doing the the star thing. I don't know, just because that was normal, but I just wanted to be like more transparent about everything. Um,
I
Make
have
sure people know like what I think.
I have looked for a system like what you're explaining to me because
Yeah.
I often read a book and it's the same way. It's like I would normally not pick this up or even read it or recommend it, but objectively,
Yep.
this was good, this was good, this was good. So if this is your type of book, still, I'm going to
Yep.
give you that type of recommendation that suits you,
Yes. And
dude.
I do that across the board. So whether it's a romantasy book or like a historical fiction book or an epic fantasy book or a lit RPG, like I did in September, I read a lot of lit RPGs. Um, it was like, just so you know, like this is my scale. This is what I use. And then at the end, there's the good part at the end of it is our enjoyment factor. Like that has to go into a book. So you have to put that in your score. You can't just like be 100% objective, right?
Sure.
So with Aaron Sun and Moon, I said in the review, like I think for a romantasy fan, this is going to be an easy 5 out of 5 or 10 out of 10. Um, I think it's that good of a book. But for me, my enjoyment was a little lower than most people because I'm not a romantasy person. So it's a 9 out of 10 for me, or a 4.5 out of 10, because it hit every other mark,
Dude.
and I don't want to like pull Janessa down. to like a 3 out of 5 just because I don't like romantasy when she wrote a fantastic book with beautiful plotting and great
Yes.
point of views, So yeah, I try to just do that across the board, which is why people are surprised. Like, but when I read another these stupid Throne of Glass books, dude.
Oh, okay.
They
Yeah, Akatar, right?
so this is the other. I read Akatar. That
Uh,
was atrocious. The first one. I'm not even gonna talk about that. But I started reading Throne of Glass as like just like a joke early on, and my scores have got progressively better, but that's because Sarah's writing has gotten progressively better. So people are always surprised. They're like, "Well, you liked this book." It's like, okay, I'm not gonna say I didn't like it, but I'm not gonna say it's my type of book. Like, yeah, I gave it a 7 out of 10, but my enjoyment on it was a 4 out of 10. So you have
yeah,
to take that into account. Um, so a lot of people are sometimes confused by my ratings because they're like, "Well, don't you like Wheel of Time or like Brandon
sure.
Sanderson, but you're giving Sarah J. Maas a 7.5." It's like, yeah, yeah,
That
but
objective part with the E at the end, like you said, I think is
yeah,
very important to you, to Noah. Like if I'm watching
yes,
Noah, I know who Noah is as a reader. I'm going to go into this and listen to his objective opinion, and also pay attention to his E, because that's important to me also.
yeah, yeah. And I always bring that up at the end. Like I will talk about, yes, a skilled author can write an objectively boring story.
For sure.
It's true. It's true. It's true. So I mean, I try to be as thorough as possible in reviews, but end of the day, it's Instagram. So usually I try to keep reviews under 2 minutes.
Mm.
Um, just because that's how it is. That's why it's Noah's Brisk reviews.
Yeah.
um,
Okay. Yes.
but again, this is one of those things where next year I am going to start doing some more Instagram live stuff with indie authors, because like talk about the books after I do a review with them, just kind of like dig into it more. I think that's something I want to start integrating once the littlest one gets a little bit older and I have a
Sure.
little more free time at night.
Yep.
um but yeah, I always try, like my biggest thing is like I don't want to throw people off or like confuse them on what I like. I don't want them to get it twisted. Like I want you to know
Sure.
this is romantasy. Um I didn't really vibe with it that much, but it was still a good book. And I think if you like romantasy, you will like this book.
I love that, dude. So, I also wanted to touch on the only reason that I can do this at night, like what we're doing right now, is the
Mhm.
wife puts the kids to bed.
Mm,
So like that support system is crucial. And if you
yes.
are like you do the kids in the morning at night, if you're the only person there, I can understand why that you have these specific times.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. This just worked out today because my wife and kids are actually visiting my in-laws. So I'm random, like this happens like 3 times a year. I'm alone in the house for a night. And so when you said you were free this time, I'm like, okay, yeah, let's just do it.
just
This is
it
it.
was meant to be, man. It had to
Yeah,
happen.
yeah, 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 for
Love it,
sure.
dude. I absolutely love that you went into that system, dude. And I'm going to do some more research on it. And I think it's respectable too, man. I think if I'm an author and I hear that, I'm
Mhm.
going to look forward, even if let's say I sent you a romantasy, I'm going to look forward to that objective part of your review.
Yeah,
100%. So,
yeah, and I do always, like, obviously authors reach out to me like about their book. I am honest with them too. I'm like, this is not my type of book. Like, I want you to
mhm.
understand that. Do you still want me to read this? Because if you do, I can do this next month.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
so I'll always be like real with them. Like, you may have started following me on Romantasy Month, but I'm gonna let you know this is not my wheelhouse.
This
Like,
was
you may
not
not
time
want
to
me.
find my
Yeah.
channel.
Yeah, like you probably don't want me talking about your book, so
So what
I
is your thing, man? What is your vibe? What are your type of books, brother?
I mean, I always call myself an epic fantasy bro. Like
Yes, dude.
that's just what I am. It's what I grew up with. Like I grew up listening to Wheel of Time on audio. I grew up listening to Lord of the Rings when I was younger. And then like that's what I started reading when I was reading. So, I've always been like, I need epic. I need multiple point of views. That is like my comfort zone. I don't care how long the book is. Like that is what I want to read. Um, so
Anyone
like
who can make it through
that's
the
where I
whole
live.
Wheel of Time series doesn't care how long a series or a book is.
Yeah, no, no, that's true. That's true. That's a good point. I have gone through the whole Wheel of Time series.
I love that, and I can't wait to kind of be there. But so real quick, my story, kind of how it compares most of the time, is very much how our story relates, in that it doesn't. You started
Yeah.
early, and you have these favorites from growing up and enjoying
Mhm.
and growing your imagination. I found my love for reading, dude, in a hospital bed at 29. And I
Interesting.
want to recommend the two authors, but specifically the book too. James Rollins, dude, huge inspiration. He does the Sigma Force series,
Yep.
and it's so good. And that got me interested in trying a fantasy. The very first fantasy I ever picked up, and the reason we're talking is Ordinary Monsters by J.M.
Oh
Miro.
yeah. Yeah.
Have you read that?
Yes, I've read the first one. I
What did you
actually
think
have.
about it?
I loved it. I loved it. It was
You're the
very
first person I'm talking to ever on this channel that's read it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, I read it. I read a freaking lot of books. But
It sucked me in.
I actually saw Miro at an event in Seattle a few
Oh,
weeks ago. I got the second book. I got the second book signed.
I'm
Um,
so
so
jealous.
I haven't
He
read the
is
second
hard
book
to get
yet.
a hold of.
Oh, I believe
He's
it. Well,
evasive, bro.
yeah, and he's been touring too. So I mean, I don't know. I don't
And
know. I
J.M.
don't know how you
Miro's,
got.
that's a pseudonym. I believe he writes as Stephen
Yes.
Price, right? Stephen
Yeah,
Price.
something like that. I know these I get so confused on the
Dude,
pseudonyms.
me too.
Yeah.
So I was sent the arc of Bringer of Dust, and I haven't
Hmm.
read it yet. I feel bad, but dude, like, I'm very excited because I've put it off because I know I'm gonna love it. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. No, I get. It's like me. I got the arc for Fury of the Gods by John Gwynn.
Oh,
And
yes.
it's just sitting on my shelf right there, and I haven't opened it yet because I know I'm
It's
gonna
still
love it.
basking.
Yeah, I know, and like I know it's the last one, so I'm just like, oh, okay,
That
I need to read it, but
them Norse inspired fantasies. Well, let's just say him and I point over here to Anthony Ryan, who just wrote.
oh yeah,
Uh,
his new book, Tides of Black Steel.
yeah, dude, it's
Yeah,
epic. If you have you
yeah.
read it,
No, he sent me
it's
an
so
arc.
good.
He sent me an arc of it, and I have it, and it was just I planned on it, and then the month got away from me. I don't know what happened. I've changed jobs in the last month, changed
No, I get it.
companies. So it's been a crazy like a month and a half ish. But no, I love Anthony Ryan. He's one of my early like blood songs. So like his first book,
Mm.
like I read that that would have been like right when I started in college. That book like blew me away.
He is a
So I've
new
always been
favorite
a
of
fan.
mine,
Yeah, I've always been a fan of Anthony Ryan. Um, yeah,
and
Blood is unbelievable.
I have to read Bloodsong. I have not read that.
Yes.
I started with which one is I started
Pariah.
with no, I have that one, but I started with The Waking Fire.
Yes, Waking Fire. Yep, that's good. That's good.
Gangster book, dude.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
good.
All of his so this is the thing with Anthony Ryan, and I'm sure I don't know if he'll agree with this. I'd be curious if I asked him. Like Bloodsong, unbelievable. Unbelievable book. The rest of that series, meh, it's
Really?
not great.
How
Really,
many
really.
books are in the series?
I think, gosh, I read three of them. I think there might be four. I'm not positive. I stopped after the next two because the next two just were not good. But then Waking Fire was really good.
Ooh, I
Um,
loved it.
and then Pariah, that series, which was his series that he just
Covenant
finished
of
up
Steel.
before Tides of Black Seal, is really good. So it's only one miss isn't bad, but Blood Song, dude, that first book in that series is incredible, incredible.
Oh,
Um,
I'm
like
excited to hear your thoughts of A Tide of Black Steel because it's got the point of view, it's got the Norse inspiration, but
mhm,
like naturally, I went into it with a John Gwynn type of expectation. I think
sure,
naturally that's what I did. And the inspiration is a close feel, but their prose is so different. It's like opening a brand,
yeah,
the thing, what am I trying to say? The things that compare are there. There's very little though. And that
mhm.
was not my expectation. It's its own series, which I love.
Yes, yes. And Anthony Ryan, his prose, I would say, is I don't know, if you started reading fantasy and when you were 29, you probably haven't read a lot of Bernard Cornwell.
No, I want to though.
Um, so at least with what I've read of Ties of Black Seal and what I've seen about it, because it did come out when I was at Broken Binding Rep, it came out. So we had excerpts of the book. Um, I just haven't done the whole thing yet. It feels much more like Bernard Cornwell than it does John Gwynn. Just like as I think, or should I say, what's a better way to put it? So we're not talking about Cornwell. Like Sanderson and Jordan, their prose is very different.
Mhm.
Gwynn is a more Sanderson guy. Anthony Ryan, at least in his later career, is more of a Jordan guy. Um, so if anybody's
Makes
read all
sense.
this stuff, it might make sense. But there's definitely specific styles where I think John Gwynn is much more approachable as a writer than
Yes.
I think Anthony Ryan is. Um,
I do agree with you. I think John Gwynn is much more approachable. I think that any level of your reading is acceptable to
yes,
pick up a John Gwynn book to a point. I mean, if you read epic fantasy, you can read the Bloodsworn
for sure.
trilogy. Now, I wouldn't say that about Anthony
No,
Ryan's, because he
no.
has a prose that is somewhat lyrical in the way
Mhm.
that he explains things, and it's
Yep,
point of view, and sometimes that can be intimidating for people.
it
I loved it
is.
though.
Yeah, and that's why I try like the videos I do best on my books to page are my recommendation videos. And I try to make those very specific. Like these are beginner books, like if or like intermediate books. Um, like there's stuff that I would not recommend for a beginner that I would recommend for someone who reads a lot of epic fantasy. Like if like my mother, right? She she follows me on Instagram. Um, but she knows that I've always been a big reader. Like she knows who I am, right?
Mhm.
Um, and she wanted to read a fantasy book. And so, and she's asking about Brandon Sanderson. I'm like, she wants to read Stormlight. I'm like, we're not, mom, we're not reading Stormlight. We're not reading Stormlight.
Those
So
are banned.
I gave her Tress in the Emerald Sea, which
Yeah.
has a lot of the same like feel. It's got that Sanderson prose. It feels like Sanderson, but it's also just very consumable and something that I think anybody can pick up and enjoy and be like, oh, I like fantasy. This is nice. And then we can move up from there. So, and I think Anthony Ryan, I think the reason John Gwynn is probably bigger than Anthony Ryan is because John Gwynn, I think I could give my mom one of those books
Yeah.
and I think she'd be fine. I think
Yep.
she'd be fine. Now I'm not saying I enjoy one more than the other. They're just
Right.
different. They're just different. Anthony Ryan's someone that I'm going to, recommend to my buddy who's been reading the same books as me since high school. So yeah, I think you have to be, and that's why recommend this kind of just randomly getting into recommendations here, but
Dude,
um,
ramble on.
I try to be um, very discerning in my recommendations on Booksa. Like people sometimes complain in the comments, say this isn't that, this isn't that, and like my thing is like you can complain all you want, but someone who doesn't read fantasy, they're not going to argue with me if Red Rising is sci-fi or if it's fantasy. Like
Right.
this is a beginner fantasy book, Red Rising. I think anybody can pick this up and enjoy it. We don't need to get into the semantics of sci-fi versus fantasy,
Yeah,
right?
you're
So
missing the point.
yeah, yeah. And so people will always argue with me that in the comments. I'm like, these are recommendations for beginners, man. Like,
The
I'm not
bigger
going
you
to freak
get,
them
dude,
out.
the
Yeah,
bigger
yeah.
you get. I've learned this from Mike. Like, I'm not the big guy that knows this. I just see it on Mike's, dude, he gets the craziest shit in his comments. Like,
Yeah.
and he deals with it like a G too. Like, dude, I hope you have a wonderful day. I like your point. Like, there's no winning with Mike. Like, he's gonna win.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh
don't
yeah.
try it. But
Oh
I
yeah.
think the bigger you get, man, you're gonna get more of that. And I think the way that you'll kind of just let it roll off and let people assume what they're gonna assume, right?
Yeah, for sure. And that's what I do. I shouldn't say I argue back. They try to like argue with me. And I'm usually like I understand where you're coming from. I don't agree with it. It is what it is. I'm the
It's
one
still
making
an
the video.
interaction.
Yeah, I'm the one making the video. So like, you don't have to like it, watch it. That's okay. And also like I feel like we get so caught up in Bookstagram with like opinions. Like if
Mm,
you need to understand this is an opinion. Like there are people who literally blocked me after my A Court of Thorn and Roses review because they didn't agree with me. And I'm like, okay.
petty, are we?
Yeah, it's like I'm not getting upset with someone if they don't like a book that I like. This book
It's
isn't defining who I
subjective,
am.
man.
I know. It's always so interesting when that stuff happens because it's just like
Yeah.
I thought we knew that this is an opinion based like
It's like it's this is look,
platform.
before you even open the door, this is my subjective opinion that does not have to be
Yeah.
yours. This
Yeah.
is just mine. You came to my channel.
Yeah.
Uh 100% love that message, man. And I
Yeah.
think some people I get taking some authors seriously, but also I think you pay homage to an author by representing through your own review what you think, not criticizing somebody else's.
Yeah. 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 It's like, and that was like if that's probably my most controversial video is my review of A Court of Thorn and Roses because I have three little girls. All my kids are girls.
Uh,
Um, and just the way women were portrayed and it taken advantage of that book to me, it was very hard to read.
okay,
And also it was just bad writing. Um,
I've heard.
and it's just very bad writing. It's not good. It's just a horrible Beauty and the Beast retelling. And and I said like at the very beginning of my video, this is what I said. I said I understand the importance of Sarah J. Maas. I understand that she got so many people into reading, and then maybe coming into, starting to read other epic fantasy, like Sarah J. Maas, and they've moved on to Robin Hobb, or they moved on to
Oh,
Anthony Ryan or Robert Jordan, whatever it may be. I understand the importance of that, but I need you to understand that this isn't good. I do not think this is good. From the thousands and thousands of books, fantasy books I've read, this is not good.
I
So
got to
yeah,
like chapter 2. I enjoyed the first the wolf
yeah,
scene. I
yeah,
did.
where
I
they
did.
kill
I'm
it.
not gonna lie. I enjoyed that first
Yeah,
scene,
no,
and
it's good.
then
It was a
it
good
kind of
opener.
just once she gets to where she's going, it kind of gets a flowery and girly and not good.
It gets very flat.
Yes,
And
flat. That's a good word.
yeah, it's just Sarah J. Oh God, we're getting into Sarah J.
It
Maas. That's
appeals to the
okay. No, that's
masses.
fine. Yes, it does. It does because she writes empty characters that let you put yourself into them. It's why Twilight was so popular
Mm,
when I was in high school. Twilight
yeah.
was popular because Bella was a shell of a character, and it was easy to imagine yourself as Bella and having Jacob and Edward fight over you.
Mm,
So in the first, A Court of Thorn and Roses, I don't know what happens after the first one because I haven't read any more than that. So I'm not even going to talk about it.
sure.
Maybe the character development does get better, like it does with Throne of Glass, because I have read more of those. But Feyre, our main character in the first book, is an empty shell who has basically by the end 2 men fighting over her. So it's that same feeling of Walmart fiction.
That's what I call it too. Them are Walmart books.
Yeah. So it's just empty shell, and it's easy to get into. It's easy to feel. You feel emotions in that, not because of the writing, but because of your own experiences and your own thoughts and your own feelings. So when you write like that, that does appeal to masses because the book becomes your art. It doesn't become the author's art. And that is why I think people get so defensive about someone like Sarah J. Maas, because that was
It's
their
their
intro.
story.
Yes, that was their intro into fantasy. This is their story. They feel like Feyre. They feel like Nesta. They feel like Elaine, whoever it may be. And so when they think you're criticizing that, they think you're criticizing them.
Mm,
Whereas with Robert Jordan, a prolific fantasy author, or J.R.R. Tolkien,
ooh,
I'm I can't see myself as Aragorn. Like,
yeah.
there's not empty shells for me to insert myself into. So
Yeah,
if
he's a
somebody
few
gets
level
ups,
above me.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So if someone criticizes that, it doesn't affect me, because they're criticizing Tolkien. They're not criticizing me.
Yes,
Um,
dude.
so I think a lot of these books where you get a lot of the defensive fan bases are really start with empty shell books. Um,
I like
and
that opinion.
yeah,
I
and
do.
people, they just feel personally attacked, even though you're not trying to do that. I did not realize this until I read these books. Right? This isn't like I had to discover this on my own. I didn't understand. I did not
Sure.
understand. So yeah, so I've been more conscious about talking about that kind of stuff, and that's why I did this whole romantasy month. I was like, you know what, screw you guys, I'm going to read a month of romantasy watch. And then I found books I really liked. So there is books in there that work, that are really good.
I love
So
that.
yeah, it's just it's been a long month,
It's
but
been
there
an
was some good stuff in there.
eye-opening and long month, huh?
Yeah, 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 for sure, for sure.
So I wanted the second dude. This is crazy to me now that I know about more about this book. This is the second book I ever read in fantasy, and it was R. Scott Baker's "The
Oh my
Darkness That
gosh,
Comes Before." I
what
didn't
a
realize
second
what a
book to
feat that
read.
was.
Oh my god,
It
yeah.
turns out that I can read some books, dude.
Yeah, that's not something I would recommend to many people.
Yeah, have you read it?
Yes,
It's
yes.
so
That
good.
it is, but it is devastating.
Specific.
It is devastating and specific,
Oh,
and will
some of the
just
darkest shit I've
frustrate.
ever read.
Oh man, yes. I always tell people, like, I I put that one on my top fan. I made a top dark fantasy recommendations, and that was on there.
Mm.
That is not a book I would just hand to my mom.
No, yeah.
Yeah, that could wreck
For
you. That could wreck you.
for content and dude, the depth of these characters
Yeah.
represent way more than just a character.
Hmm.
Holy crap. I don't remember her name, but the whore, dude, she's
Mm,
one of my favorite
yes.
characters just because of humanity is so prevalent in her story, dude. And I
Yeah.
think that if you can't recognize that in someone's prose who's being so philosophical on purpose,
Hmm.
then I agree. It's a hard recommendation, but
Yeah.
a lot of people love it, and I did.
Yeah. R. Scott Baker is awesome. I mean, I love that series, The Prince of Nothing. Is that the name of the? Yeah, it's Prince of Nothing.
Yeah,
That's the name of
Prince
the
of Nothing series. I've
series.
only read book
Yeah.
1 so far.
Okay, you're in for it.
I am.
You're
Any
in for it.
in the names, dude, like Anand Sugurambar or what is it? Uh I'm trying to find it now. I have to.
Yeah,
It's a crazy name. Anastia Romber or some shit
yeah,
like that. It's
I haven't
crazy.
I haven't listened to those audiobooks, so I have no idea how to say any of the names in it. I just make them up as I go.
Yeah.
So I
This
know I should
is
probably listen to audiobooks on those ones.
Yeah, I do. I have the audiobook, but I think that one was there's audiobooks I can listen to, and then there's audiobooks that I can't, and I have to read
Oh,
the book.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yep.
because really the names and the places. Okay, if I
Mhm.
can't see how that's spelled from this author, if I can't recognize that in the book the same way I would recognize it when I'm listening to it, if I don't know
Yeah.
what he's saying, it gets a little confusing.
Yeah, I get that. I
There's
get that.
Montague. I did bring you up earlier, EL. If you weren't here, we've been talking about you. Really terrible stuff too. No, I'm just kidding. We were talking about how thankful Jeff was to receive your books and how that was like his first deal and receiving an author's books, and that it was super cool, man. So you fed into that, and you were the reason for that. So I think that feels cool. I'm sure it does as an author. Hello, system malfunctions. System malfunction. I like to see that on my
Malfunctions.
screen as a username rather than something going on. So let's see here. My handwriting's terrible. I always do this. I write down topics to talk about, and then I can't read them.
Yeah, that's fair.
What's a good spooky time read that you would recommend?
Ooh, okay, spooky time read. I'm a big fan of T. Kingfisher. One of
Ooh,
my favorite spooky books, and I wouldn't even really call it like I wouldn't call it scary. I just call it like kind of spooky and obscure. It's What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. That is
I
a reta
just downloaded that.
Yeah, that it is a retelling of The Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe.
I did not
Um,
know that.
yeah, and it is a creepy mushroom horror book.
Hell
Uh,
yeah.
that's my favorite. I'm not super versed in horror. Like I'll be honest, I haven't read a ton of horror. Um, More like dark fantasy or horror fantasy like is good. Like I guess more like skin crawly fantasy more than
Uh-huh.
like scary fantasy,
Uh-huh.
is what I kind of go for. But T. Kingfisher, Michael Fletcher, Beyond Redemption
Yes.
is disgusting.
Have you
Uh,
read The Shadow of Their Dying?
no, I haven't. I
Holy
haven't.
shit.
The one with Spark Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I need to read that. Is it crazy?
Dude, that's horror fantasy at its
He's wild.
finest and disgusting, dude. It's
He's wild.
crazy the
Yeah,
feelings that Anna will give you.
yeah. And Beyond Redemption by him was one of the early grimdark books that I read. That it was just like, oh my gosh, there's like, it's grimdark when there's nobody in the book you like.
Yeah.
That you just do not care about. You do not want to hear anything from this person. They are disgusting. And yep. That's it. That's it. Read that book. That book. It is.
I've
Oh, it's
started.
so
I haven't
gross.
finished it.
It's gross. It gets
I
grosser
hear.
as it goes on. But yeah,
I
it's
I remember the reason I picked it up was because Patrick was like, I don't know why I love this book because it's
yeah.
fucking
That's how I feel.
disgusting,
Yep.
but I love it.
Yep. It's funny. I actually just sent I sent a box out for someone. I give away a lot of books.
Uh-huh.
Like if just so you guys know, if you follow me on Instagram, every once in a while you'll see a story. I'll be like, does anybody want this book? Or I'll message someone if you want it, if I have extras of something, because I like to go use book shopping. And if there's a book I
Sure.
like, I'll buy extras of it to give it to people.
That's
Um,
awesome.
so I sent someone a book yesterday and I actually put my extra copy of Beyond Redemption in it without her knowing. So I'm hoping she gets it and reads it because that would be
That's a
funny.
surprise there. I love it.
So yeah, that would be a funny one, especially because I sent her like 3 Dritz books. So Dritz Jordan, like Forgotten Realms. And
Yeah,
then I just threw Beyond Redemption in there.
just a little bit of a gear shift with that one.
Yeah, we'll
Uh,
see. We'll
my
see.
wife, Adrian's ears are burning. Adrian Gibson, Mushroom Blues.
Oh yeah, I know. That is the only hashtag break-ins book that I have not read yet. Um,
Okay,
so he's the
so you're a
oh
Rob
well
Lee fan.
oh yeah, Past Letters.
Yes,
Yeah, that
dude.
book was awesome. That book was
So
awesome.
good.
So Mushroom Blues I have not read yet, and that was just because I just didn't get to it right away. I haven't read Callum's book either, Dirge of Cassius.
Oh
And I
yeah.
own it. I own it, but that didn't count. That just came out. That doesn't
It
count.
did,
That's not
and
fair.
it's. I've read half of it, and it's good. It's different. And I
Yeah,
think it's a great debut, but it is different. It's going to be a
yeah.
unique feel.
I'm excited to read that. I am very excited to read Adrian's book. I have it. I want to read it. I will read it probably in November.
We all
'Cause
understand the
I've
exact
only heard
sentence
good
that you just
things.
said.
Yeah.
It's I'm a mood reader. So
Mm,
when my wife thinks I'm nuts, but I'll be reading 4, 5, 6 different books at once, just
yeah,
depending
yeah,
on my
yeah.
mood.
Mhm.
And she is not that way. Like she is, I'll read this whole book through, and don't you dare even throw another book in front of me.
Yeah, my wife will read a whole series before she reads anything else.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah.
dedication.
So she read Wheel of Time for the first time this year.
I've seen
Um,
that video.
she read every one straight through,
Wow.
like a psychopath on her iPhone,
Like,
um,
oh wow.
because she doesn't like Kindles. No, it's not that she doesn't like Kindles. She just doesn't want to buy one because she's so
Okay.
cheap.
My wife's
Even
got
though,
a good website for you. It's called Unclaimed Baggage.
yes,
I
you
got
can
you on a
buy
used Kindle
get
for
some
cheap.
Kindle.
Yeah, dude.
So she reads
30,
every
40 bucks.
so I'm just thinking, she read 15 Wheel of Time books on her phone in dark mode, um,
Wow.
which is insane.
It
I could
is.
never, I can't do that. I
Me
need to
neither.
switch it up. That keeps it fresh. I mean, that's why I can read so many books and why I don't have slumps and I don't need breaks is because I do switch it up. I think it's important,
Yeah.
especially with genre switching. I think that's good too.
And that's a new thing for me too, is like the genre switching. John,
Mhm.
I loved this book by Josh Scott Edwards, Ocean of Others. That was a really, really D&D, but darker feel,
Huh.
psychological.
Okay.
It was really, really good. He's a self-published author too.
Okay.
Friggin' sweetest guy ever, dude. He's the nicest dude ever. So it's so cool because usually the sweetest people can create the gnarliest books for some reason.
Dude,
That's in
I don't
um
I don't know if you've seen this is someone you should read this book and have Caden on. Do you know Caden Love or
yeah, I've
Spatling
had him
Press?
on.
You've had him
I've
on.
had
Okay.
both
Have you
of
read
them
his
on.
book? Have you
No,
read
I
his book?
haven't.
Oh my gosh. It is you like Caden's the nicest dude. I
He
talk to
is.
Caden all the time. We do buddy reads together. And I didn't know when I was reading his book what it was because his wife, who is so sweet, and she's an
Yeah,
artist too,
she
she
did
did
the
the
art.
cover. It looks so innocent, dude. It looks so innocent.
It
And
does.
it does, but the whole magic system is based off of harvested infants' organs.
So you
Um,
would recommend it?
yes, it's a dark fantasy, and people don't realize that. And that is, it's funny. Like the sweetest guy is like Caden's super nice, always super sweet, and then
Yeah.
like he just wrote this messed up book that is really good. I loved it. I loved
Maybe
it.
it's been
Yep.
misrepresented in my head too, is why I haven't picked it up
Yeah,
yet. Like he
yeah,
sent it to me and I feel bad that I haven't read it yet, but I just haven't yet.
yeah. No, I mean, first chapter will have you. It's
Okay.
it is much deeper than you can imagine. It is very political based fantasy, political intrigue, lots of different tribes or nations fighting over this resource that basically creates a magic system, which is infants' organs.
That's
Um,
yeah, I have to check it out
it's
now.
crazy. It's crazy. But Caden deserves more hype. I think his next book is going to help a lot too, because it's got a pretty sick cover if you've seen it. The
I
next
don't
one,
know what the
Pernicious
pernicious eels.
Eels.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I'm happy for him, man. I think he deserves he's a very ambitious dude, puts a lot of work into his marketing, a lot of work into his TikTok and all his accounts. I want to see him succeed.
he's a nurse
Um,
too.
yeah, dude. And
It's
him and
crazy.
his wife, I think representing something so cool. They're so young, but they're married and
Yeah,
doing the married thing. I love that.
yeah, yeah. No, I love Caden.
I've never gotten this question before, but let's answer it. Popeye's
Hmm.
chicken sandwich. The Popeye chicken sandwich is sentient and has asked us the question for host and guest: what's your favorite book with a chicken sandwich? I'm gonna just go with what I think right off the rip. Any Ryan Cahill book.
That's good with a chicken sandwich.
Yeah.
um, Man, chicken sandwich book. Maybe some Warhammer, some 40K.
Okay.
Maybe some Dan Abnett,
The
just to
Heresy.
keep it. Oh yeah, Horse Heresy.
Horace. Oh, I gotta have Horace Rising. I haven't read it yet, but
Yeah, yeah. No, there's the Horse Heresy. Where? Oh, here we go.
that's the series name, right?
You have this right here, Horse
Yeah.
Rising. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. I know. I've read this in high school, but this is a good chicken sandwich book.
Okay.
This is a good chicken sandwich book.
Andy
Um,
Pelican right there. That's the guy that got me onto that book.
oh, did he? Yeah,
Yeah.
Andy. I know Andy likes to hype people up on books.
Yeah, he's good at it too. Oh man, he's here. I have to talk about him. Let me grab him, John. Well, where are they at? Here they are. You're a dark fantasy fan. This is my absolute favorite dark fantasy series of all time. That's within. Well, it's on my all-time favorite epic dark fantasy list. Probably number
Sure.
2, maybe number 1.
Okay.
I haven't read the novella yet, John. The Trials of Ash Mountain, Buzzard's Bowl, which is the Trials of Sedaine. Oh, dude, epically dark. It's like Joe Abercrombie and George R. R. Martin had a baby
Okay.
that like had a bad childhood, so it's a little darker than Joe, right?
Okay.
It's great, dude. This is what I would recommend you if you're a huge dark fantasy fan.
Message it over to me when we're done. So
I will.
can,
I will.
yeah. Yeah, I didn't
John's
bring a
in.
pen and paper, so John, I will check it out.
His name on any platform is A Grim Bastard. So he lives it up, man. He lives the life.
I like it.
Thanks for being here, John, man. Good to see you, brother. All right, let's see what I haven't gotten to yet. What was your biggest, like, holy shit, this is a part of creating books, but I had no idea? Or creating videos for books, sorry.
Oh, just the drama on the platform. That's
Yeah.
that's been my biggest. Oh my gosh, I thought I was just going to talk about books, but there's some people who don't want to talk about books, and there's some people who just like nonstop message you, and
Troll.
yeah, that was unexpected. I also didn't expect to like. I'm almost to 4,000 followers on Instagram, and those are all very genuine followers too. I don't do any like clickbaity stuff.
That's important.
Yes, we can
Like
talk
all
about
that
that.
organic traffic, right?
Yeah, I went on a big old rant with one of my group chats today about that. But yeah, that's one of the things that was weird for me. It was like I feel like sometimes we get it feels like a high school lunchroom sometimes
Mm,
because like people talking about other people. I'm like, what are we doing, guys? Like
yeah.
we're adults. Like I don't want to deal with this. Like I don't want to talk about this.
Yes.
So it's been interesting. Like you would think the longer you've been on, the more your circle would grow. But
Mhm.
really, the longer I've been there, the less and less amount of people I talk to.
Yep.
That keeps me sane.
Yeah.
It keeps me sane because
I
like
get it.
I have my bubble, um, Bloodsworn trilogy. Yeah, I do like the Bloodsworn trilogy. So yeah, the bubble has gotten smaller of the people I talk to. But other than that, I mean, it's been honestly like it's been chill for me for the most part. I don't have a lot to complain about.
That's
Like
good.
the not the YouTube algorithm, but the Instagram algorithm likes me. It pushes my stuff out. Like people find me who want to find me, and um, for the most part, like I don't have a ton to complain about. I wish they would be cooler about reels and let you do it for like 3 minutes instead of 90 seconds. But I mean, I post as
Okay.
long as I want anyway. Um,
I think the
there is
biggest thing for me was editing.
editing. Okay, yes. So editing wasn't a problem for me just because I have previous experience editing just like on my own, like video game stuff. Um,
Okay.
so I was pretty comfortable with that part. And I actually switched over to doing everything on my phone on CapCut, which I've like adopted as my main editor. I
Yeah,
really like CapCut.
I do
Um,
too.
and this is someone who used to use Adobe. So like CapCut on the phone, like I edit everything for my Instagram on my phone in CapCut, and I am freaking great at it now.
And
But
it's good quality.
yeah, it is. It is. It exports nice. It's sort of like it's one of the only apps I pay for because I think it's worth it. I think
It
it's worth
is.
it. But yeah, hardest part for me, like the most surprising thing has just been some of the like drama with people, which I guess happens when you have groups of people together. Like there's always going to be drama. Um,
Humans, drama, they go
yeah,
together.
it's just how it goes. And then also, just like I don't know. I was very surprised at how quickly I picked up steam on there. It was very overwhelming for around like that 1,000 to 2,000 mark was like, oh my god, this is too much because you feel the pressure.
Ooh,
Um, but I've gone past that now that it's like, you know what? If they're here because they want to watch what I want to post. So
I'm gonna
yeah,
recommend a spooky I just caught it on my shelf in my
Go for
picture
it.
that I'm looking at, and I had to shout it out, dude. Philip Fracassi, Boys in the Valley.
Okay, so who talked? Was it? I think it
Mike,
was Mike. Did Mike talk about it?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Yes, that is on my list on my iPhone notes. Um,
great
so
book, dude.
yeah, I know I saw that on. That was a while ago that he recommended that, and I remember writing it down. But
Mhm.
yeah, okay, cool. So you like it?
Oh,
Spooky.
dude, it's one of
Yeah.
my all-time favorite, maybe number one horror book.
Maybe I should do it next week, just last week of October.
It's a quick read. It's not
Yeah,
that long. I think
yeah.
300 pages, something like that.
Oh yeah, I'll do that. Let's do that in an afternoon.
That's quick, dude. That's awesome. I'm glad that you haven't read it. There's sometimes I never get the chance to recommend a book somebody that I'm speaking to hasn't read. So
Oh no,
that's
you're
an
good.
excellent book, dude. And Philip
Good.
Fracassi is just the gangster at like creating that feeling like of like something's about to happen, like animosity, like anxiousness, without saying anything out of the norm. Not
Ooh,
really
yeah,
giving you
that's
much
good.
of a hint. That's a skill.
Just just build up through like his rhetoric and pose throughout the writing. It's hard to do. It's hard to
It
do.
is. So what are you
I
currently
really appreciate
reading?
that.
Yeah, dude,
What
me
I'm
too.
currently reading. What am I currently reading? I'm rereading the Mistborn trilogy right now by Brandon Sanderson.
Okay.
Um, I haven't read them in a very long time. I'm on the second book right now. And then I'm also reading Falling into Oblivion by Aaron Payne, Bibliotheory.
Yeah, dude.
So
Bibliotheory, yeah.
yeah, he sent very graciously sent me that book. I actually have I got his little keychain right
Oh,
here.
I didn't know he did
Um,
keychains.
so I'm like 70 pages into it right now.
Starts
So
off
far,
pretty exciting.
oh yeah, yeah, it's very fast paced. I just started it yesterday. So when we're done here, I'm on West Coast, so we're gonna be done. I'm gonna have a ton of time after this. But I'm gonna read some more of that tonight. I'm hoping to have that finished in the next couple days. So I'm listening to Mistborn and I'm reading Falling into Oblivion by Bibliotheory or Aaron M. Payne. Um, Both, I mean, I love Mistborn. I just haven't read it in so long. I wanted to do it again. Um,
I
and the
just bought Mistborn book one. I haven't read it
oh,
yet.
you're ready.
I'm
Okay.
a I am a I have not picked up anything other than oh, what's that first book? Maybe it wasn't as for Alyssa
Elantris?
Elantris. I've read Elantris,
That
which it was okay.
that would not be my first Brandon Sanderson recommendation.
I've heard.
I would recommend that after you've read a little Sanderson. I love Elantris, but I've been reading Sanderson since I was in high school, so um, I obviously am biased when it comes to that. But I always my first Sanderson recommendation is either going to be: do you want big or do you want a little easier? You know, if you want big, just start reading Stormlight. If you want a little easier, go into Mistborn. That's where I always start people at. So yeah, it's been fun rereading Mistborn. I haven't told anybody I've been reading it like outside of like my private chats or anything. So if anybody's watching, that's what I'll have reviews on early next month. Um,
I
but
have I have
yeah.
both of those. I have Mistborn book one and I have Way of Kings, and
Mhm.
I haven't decided which I'm going to start. Probably Mistborn. That's like
Yeah,
the
that's
heaviest recommended place to start.
yes. Yeah, that's what people say. I have no preference, honestly. It's totally what you're in the mood for. Like,
So you're caught up on Stormlight Archive. You're ready
oh
for book
yeah.
five.
Oh yeah, I've been rereading. I need to reread one more before book 5. So I've got to reread Rhythm of War. So
Lots of
um
pages.
yes, yes. So I've been reading those. That is I finished Oathbringer last week, so that's the third book. Um so yeah, jumping straight into Wave Kings is fine. I actually have a video about that, like why it's okay to do that. Um so oh, this guy's in the minority. I found book 3 to be okay and really found book 4 to be boring. John, wasn't we just talking about how good of a writer you are?
Oh goodness.
No,
And
but 1 and 2 are so good. 1 and 2 is so Way of Kings, the first book is my favorite book of all time. Um,
ooh,
that is my favorite book of all time.
all time.
Yep,
Wow.
yep. That is my all-timer. My Roman
Got two
Empire.
prologues. Like, whoa, this is deep.
Yeah.
E.L. Montague says Way of Kings the way to go. Okay, well, I take your recommendations very seriously, and especially a guy that's his favorite book of all time. I may have to.
You can't look here. People, there's Cosmere people. So Cosmere, Brandon Sanderson's like expanded universe or whatever. People are
Yeah,
crazy about that. And there's
dude.
like the whole point. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see my Way of Kings video. It just says read this, and it's a picture of me kissing Way of Kings. And I basically say forget those people, because it's not going to change your enjoyment of the book if you've read Mistborn or not, if you've read Elantris, if you've read Warbreaker. Like, yeah, there might be an Easter egg here or there, but there shouldn't be like a gate up for you to start Way of Kings.
That's a
Like, you
fear
shouldn't
of
have to
mine.
do something. Yeah, don't let that be a fear.
I'm
Don't let
like,
that
if
be a
I don't
fear.
catch every little Easter egg, then I'm not going to be able to be a true Sanderson fan. So I'm
You,
glad you're saying that.
there's the there's not even really an Easter egg in Wave. I don't even know what people would argue is the Easter egg.
Okay.
I guess you could say one character is, but even that, it's like era two Mistborn. It's like so deep. Like, I'm not gonna make someone read 7 books before they read Way of Kings. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Okay.
Um, but Mistborn split up into 2 eras, so you can always read era one. But yes, Stormlight Archive is incredible. There's no reason you cannot start with Way of Kings.
Well, I'm like you. I'm a huge epic fan. Epic fantasy,
Then
whether it's
then
dark,
start Way of
high
Kings.
man. Yeah,
Just do it. Just do it.
I
You
will.
won't
I'm just
regret
gonna
it.
dive into Storm. That's what we're
Yep.
gonna do.
Yep.
And
Just do it.
I can't wait to tell you my thoughts on it, dude.
Yeah, that'll be
Um,
awesome. I mean, Mistborn's great. Go back to Mistborn, but you do
I
not need
will.
it to jump into Way of Kings.
So, being that this is the prettiest book that I have and the most latest special edition, and I think you may have it too. This is what I'm reading and listening to right now.
Oh God.
And
Memory,
holy
Sorrow,
shit,
and
am I
Thorn.
loving it.
Dude, I that is a top 3 series all time for me. Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn.
This is
Um,
hitting the tropes that make my heart
dude,
mush, dude.
it's perfect. It's perfect. That's those 3 books, and there's an era two of that. So there's 4 more books after that, but don't stress about those. Just read the first 3.
I will.
You could the next ones are great too. The last one actually comes out this month. Dahl actually reached out to me and asked if I wanted it. I'm like, hell yes, send it
Hell
to me.
yes.
But yeah, dude, Dragonbone Chair, like, that book has some of the best characters. I think besides Robin Hobb,
Mm.
um,
Who I
I
haven't
think,
read yet.
and that's totally fine. She's my favorite character writer of all time, Robin Hobb. Um, she lives like 15 minutes from me too. Um, but I think Tad Williams is right up there with her, because man, there is some the characters in that book are just so memorable. You are never ever going to forget Benedict. You are never ever going to forget Simon.
Simon,
Dude.
dude, Simon is really already I'm empathetic towards him because he's
Oh
really
yeah.
kind of like getting beat up by
Dude, he's an
Rachel.
idiot. He's an
Yeah.
idiot, right?
And I started out like that. And I am. Ask my
Yeah.
wife. I'm still a Simon.
Yeah,
And
dude.
like a little smack in the head, and then I'm in Simon's position.
And like, not a spoiler, but like, Simon has trouble through the whole entire series, which is awesome, because there's no magical thing that Simon does that
What's
makes him
more
good at
human
stuff.
than that?
Yeah, yeah. It's really these people that surround him, and like this found family that he has throughout this series, that really makes Simon the person that he becomes by the last book. And it is so epic, dude. Dragonbone Chair, Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, that is always a top recommendation for me. And I'm so happy Broken Binding's doing the special editions of those. Um,
So
they
I'm gonna make
are
a
beautiful.
huge announcement real quick. 2 of these
Mhm.
people I've already announced I'm talking to, so I'll make those first, just because we're talking about some of them right now. So on the first, I have a double feature which took me a year to set up, guys. At 2 o'clock on November 1st, I'm speaking with John Gwynn, EST
Mhm.
time, and then at 8:30 EST, it's gonna be Scott Lynch.
I got some questions for Scott.
Dude, I can't wait for you to ask him. I will
Got
throw
some
them up
questions for Scott.
immediately. And then I haven't made any announcement, and I won't. The only people who would know this is you guys right here who are here live. On the 9th, I'm interviewing Tad
Oh my
Williams himself.
gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh
So
my
I have
gosh.
to get through this. I have
Dude,
to
yeah.
like
Oh,
and
I
and,
love
and
Ted
already
Williams so
loving it
much.
so much. I am so like he's just a gangster in the realm of fantasy and
Yeah.
I cannot wait to talk with
He's an
him.
all-time. He's an all-time, and he's still writing too, which is great. Like, it yeah, Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn is it switches back and forth between my second favorite or my third favorite series of all time. I always recommend those books. I love them so much. I think they're beautifully written, great character work, perfect world, perfect story. Um, you do not know what's going to happen, and my favorite side character of all time is in that book. And I don't know if you've
Oh,
met him yet, but you
I
will.
haven't.
If Rachel's still giving Simon crap, you haven't met this guy yet.
I'm only on
Um,
like chapter 4 or 5, so I'm
yeah,
early still.
yeah. So I'm very interested for you to get down to the end of the series, and then we'll talk about Rachel again.
And with you being such a huge fan, dude, like I will throw your when I'm talking to him, if you're in the comments, like I'm gonna be telling him about you. So in your
Oh
channel,
yeah,
like
I love it, man. Let him know that Daw reached out to me last week. The
I will.
publisher, they said Daw knew I was a fan. They're like, "Do you want this book?" I'm like, "Yes,
That
send
is
it."
so cool.
Because he's finishing up the end of the King of Asenath. That's the trilogy after Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. So I'm very excited to. So my
I've had a
November is going to be
I've had a
that.
unique road, and it's been of like I've been very I'm kind of tenacious when it comes to talking to people. I've had a really good luck with authors and stuff coming on the channel, and then I've built it, and
It's
I'm
crazy
kind
to
of
get Scott Lynch.
tenacious.
Crazy.
What is
I
it?
can't, I can't believe you got Scott Lynch.
Dude, he was hard to get. He
Yeah,
was
I believe
like
it.
I got his fucking email and like he only responded every now, which I understand. The dude's probably got 1,000 freaking emails.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But it took a year to get that together, and I'm just
That's,
so excited for it.
yeah, that'd be cool.
Um, and I want to represent not just like my love for what he does, but the community's love, and that's very much what I'm saying. Anybody in the chat is like automatically he's going to hear your name, and because he deserves to, and you deserve
Yeah.
to be in his ear because you know people who are inspired by somebody's work, I feel like is the ultimate one of the ultimate things in life. Um, but I'm very excited about that. And like I
Yeah.
said, nobody knows about the ninth about Tad Williams. So keep it to yourself,
I
guys,
got
if they
that.
don't watch this.
I
But I
got to
will
write that
announce it
down.
soon.
That is so awesome. I can't think of anyone I'd rather. I mean, besides Brandon, I've talked to Brandon Sanderson though, so I've never talked to Tad Williams. Um,
Wow.
so
Where
I'd
did you
rather
talk
talk to
to
Tad
Brandon
Williams
Sanderson at?
early. So I've been a Sanderson fan for a very long time, um, since high school. So I was there for like launch of Way of Kings.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so there was a launch. He was doing a tour, and it wasn't even like he wasn't even that big yet. I mean, Mistborn was kind of going off, but it wasn't like crazy. But when Way of Kings came out, I was so excited for that. I actually have. I'm like one of the few people who have personalized autographs from Brandon Sanderson in my
That's
Way of Kings
badass.
because he does not do that anymore.
Dude, it's
'Cause-
a mass
yeah, yep,
produced,
yep.
yes.
So I mean, me and my wife both have personalized Way of Kings books. So I've talked with him before. Tad Williams, I've never met. I do not have a Tad Williams autograph, and I have loved Tad Williams since I was probably 14. Um,
Wow.
so
That's
that so
deep, man.
yeah, that's like 20 years of Tad Williams love. So that is awesome that he's going to be on, and I'm definitely going to watch that.
Do you know one of the coolest things that people, and this is another piece of evidence to why even a negative review will attract readers? Somebody told me, and I know who it was when I'm not going to name drop,
Mhm.
but it's a very big channel that we've all watched. And he didn't like the Dragonbone chair because it was a slow burn. To
Oh my
me,
gosh.
that is
Uh,
where I'm going because that is character, that's depth
yeah.
of plot. There's arcs, there's side characters, there's people who are important, and then I'm going to remember because of how long it is and how kind of we're building this
Yes.
story up.
That's where you get the best payoff. And
Oh,
I think it's people who can't stand not getting instant gratification are not going to get that. They're not going to feel the specialness of that slow burn, because if you can wait, there's a sex analogy in here somewhere, but um basically the slow burn's worth it because the payoff in the end is always so much better. It's so much better than just your quick hitters, right?
mm,
Like when you save up your money to buy a house or something, right, as opposed to just renting, like
yes.
it feels so much better in the long run because you accomplish something. So I feel like when you have a book that's a slow burn, like Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn with the Dragonbone Chair, by the end of Dragonbone Chair, there is not very much resolved, but you have had these characters implanted into you and you just love them so much. You want to see where they're going.
Like
And
there's
so
no
if
way you're stopping with that.
yeah, exactly. So if you can hold off for a little bit longer, like it's gonna make it better in the end. And it always does. It
Oh,
always does. And I think that's why so many people get caught up in these Walmart Walmart fantasies, whatever you called it.
yeah.
Like there's they get slow burn sexual romance in these, but there's so much more to a book than that. If you're going to a book for that slow burn sexual romance, whatever, do that. If you like smut, you like smut, I don't care.
Sure.
But if I have a slow burn plot that does not come together to the end, like that is ultimate payoff for me.
Ah,
And I love
we're
that so
very
much.
much alike on that,
Yeah.
dude.
Then you are going to love Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn because it does not
Ah,
pay off until the end of the book, end of the
ah.
series.
I'm so excited, dude. Thank
Yeah.
you for that. I'm glad that you kind of went into your experience with it because that's kind of what I expected. I mean, I didn't know what to expect, but the slow
Mhm.
burn aspect is always something I go
Yeah, it's
for
good.
those
It's
reasons.
good, man. That's what I love classic fantasy. I
Oh, it's
love
so
I
good.
I love Wheel of Time. I love Terry Brooks. I love like Robert Jordan, Terry Brooks, Ted Williams. Like there's something special about that kind of writing that again, I don't think is great for a beginner, but if you can get into it and you connect with it, like I think it is the most fulfilling story.
Heartwarming.
They're the most fulfilling stories to read
They
because I
are.
feel like in the end you get the most out of it. Like your time, it feels like your time was worth it. Um,
And even though John still in the chat, John Palladino, like those are big books, but they're not Stormlight Archive big. But
yeah,
still, I would still consider his books to have that quality of
yeah,
slow
that
burn
feel.
character
Okay,
building, story creating.
I gotta find you,
Um,
John. I gotta find you on it. Send me his Instagram
I
when you're.
will, I will,
Okay,
I
okay.
will. So I'm glad that you went into that, man, especially with Tad Williams, because he's a new favorite of mine. And it's crazy that I know he's going to be a favorite.
Hmm.
Even the tropes that I love so much are already being built up, like within the
Yeah,
first, his mother sacrificing to keep him alive. And I'm not going to go into anything else because then we may be considered spoilers. But
dude, all that
um,
stuff comes back around, and that's what's so great about Tad. Like that stuff comes back around, and there's payoff for everything that happens in those
his
first few
prose too is
chapters.
so unique. Like his
Mhm.
prose is not like anybody I've ever read, which isn't like
No.
a crazy amount of backlisting, but I can already tell he has a very special type of prose.
Yes, yes, he is very. It's very distinct. Very distinct. There are distinct writers out there, and he is definitely a distinct writer.
Ah,
But
man.
if it connects with you, like if Tad Williams connects with you, it will always be he will always be one of your favorites.
So
Just
I
how he
can
goes.
listen to him and I can read him and I get the very similar experience. So like during the day, if I can, I'm reading. During the night, I'm listening.
Mhm.
So I can tell he's unique just through that
Yeah,
because I can't do that with everybody.
yeah, that's
Um,
good.
so kind of to finish up here,
Mhm.
to what are your most anticipated reads? Let's say within the next year,
Okay. Well, Navigator's Children by Tad Williams. It's the fourth book in the Kings of Asenard series.
and that's like
Um,
the second era of.
yeah, so that's like the
Okay,
seventh book from where you're at right now.
okay,
So that comes out in November. Fury of the Gods, which is that out yet? Is that officially out?
yeah, it came out the
Okay.
22nd.
Okay. So I got that last month and I still haven't read it because I just don't want it to end.
Sure.
Um, so Fury of the Gods, um, Tad Williams, Navigator's Children, and then obviously Stormlight. I'm super excited for. Um, really excited for. And then another one I'm really excited for is I don't know if you've read any Michael J. Sullivan,
I
Rhyria Chronicle.
haven't.
Okay. So he had a Kickstarter earlier this year
I
for
saw.
another Chronicles of Rhyria with Royce and Hadrian. Those are like the prequel books. So that is slowly coming out. We're gonna get the ebook early, so I'm hoping in the next couple months I'll get that. So like for traditional stuff, those are the ones I'm most excited about.
Cool.
Um, Indie wise, super excited for Brian Wilson. He writes the
Yeah.
Power of the Stars books.
Yes. I've got his first book.
Yep. Forbidden
Yep.
Planet, Son of the Prophets, and then his third one is I forget the name of it already. I did the title reveal. I forget the name of it. I'm
Bro,
sorry.
he
I'm
sent me
sorry,
this
Brian.
book like a year and a half ago. I was one of the very first people, and I fell off of the train because I still haven't read all the way through that one. And I feel so bad because he's such an amazing dude.
You should. It's a good book, dude. It's a good read. It's quick too. It's a good. It's like sci-fi fantasy mix, kind of like Star Wars, Ender's Game, kind of like Academy, not Dark Academy or anything, but like a school of kids learning, becoming soldiers. It's good. It's good, dude. But
I'll have to dive back into it.
his third book's coming out. I'm also very excited for ZS Diamani's Garden the Garden.
Cozy?
Yeah, the cozy fantasy coming out. I'm pretty close with I'll just call him ZS.
Yeah.
Um, and and then another more indies. Philip Quaintrell, A Time of Dragons. Yep, Stone and Sky, really good book. Um, the
Excellent. Classic
and
fantasy book.
yeah, he's a great writer. Philip Quaintrell, he wrote A Time of Dragons. He also wrote a very long the Echo Saga before
Yeah.
that.
The
Time of
Rangers.
Time of Dragons, Once There Were Heroes is my favorite book of this year so far.
Ooh.
And the second one just came out. I haven't read it yet.
Broken
I'm going
Binding?
to this month. Yes. Yep. So I'm waiting for my special edition because I have the
Me
special
too,
edition of the
dog.
first one. They look good. And then Michael R. Miller, who writes the Chaos Songs of Chaos, his
Ascendant.
fourth
Yep.
book. Yep. So his fourth book, I'm on his like quote unquote street team. Um, so I'm excited for that book too. And I actually live super close to his PR person, Stacy. She's yep.
Stacy's
Um,
awesome, dude. She'll make
yeah,
anything
Stacy's great. Yeah, I talked to Stacey a lot. She lives like 20 miles from me.
Oh wow.
But yeah. So she was I I was giving her crap this morning because Michael's never sent me a book. Um,
Dude, he sent like hella people last year, and I'm sure you were one of them, all 3 hardbacks to have him on and have like an interview with him. And bro, there's some of the most I've only read well, I've read all 3 mostly. I haven't read it all the way through book 3.
the
But they're
second one was
excellent classic fantasy dragon
yeah,
writer,
yeah,
beautifully written.
big fan. I'm excited for the fourth one. So yeah, so Michael, Philip, Brian, ZS. I'm excited for all their books. Obviously, Caden's book. Um, Yeah, indie authors is kind of harder to know because they don't do like sometimes they don't like straight up release dates until they're like
Right.
3 months out from it. So like I don't know. I, I don't know if there's something coming out I'm excited
Sure.
about, but
No. I get
but
it.
yeah, big traditional releases. I mean, obviously Stormlight right now is my big one that I really want.
My most anticipated reads of the next year are going to be Stormlight Archive. We're
Mm-hmm.
gonna go from Stormlight, A Time of Dragons. I haven't read that yet.
Really good.
The whole series, all 3 books, Tad Williams, Memory, Stone and Thorn, Memory, Sorrow, Thorn.
So Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn is the series. Yeah.
Yeah, that whole series. Just getting through that, and then I can't be excited for book 5. I'm excited for people who are excited for book 5 from in the Stormlight. I can't wait to see the hype because anybody that writes books that gets that type of hype, man, get out of here.
Yeah. This is the end of the first arc for the series. So
yeah,
there should be a good conclusion at the end. So I'm very excited for what's going to happen. I have my theories, but we don't need to get into that. That's a long conversation.
So anybody who knows Brandon Sanderson as an ambitious writer, just check out his plans for all of these arcs, and then you come back.
Crazy.
Dude, it's crazy. Nuts. He basically said one time, and I believe him, he wants to be the Stan Lee of the Cosmere.
I mean, he will be.
Yeah, he already kind of is. Right?
I mean, yeah, it's dude. I think he's told us who every backstory for each of the next 6 Stormlight books is going to be. I'm pretty sure this dude already has the books written and he's just waiting to release them.
He is crazy ambitious. And he's the guy to do it. If you are wanting to fanboy out, dude, like that is the guy. And that's what I'm realizing. And I put him off for a reason. I feel like I'm going to become that fanboy. So I don't have room to be his fanboy right now. So I'm going to soon. But
he's got enough. He's got enough. He's good.
Yeah, dude, he's solid. What did he make? $10 million through his
that Kickstarter
board game?
Yeah, I know. I was like, for his tabletop RPG. I'm like, there's not $10 million worth of people who play tabletop RPGs. What's going on?
10 million. Anyway, he's the only guy that can do that.
Yeah, for sure.
I think my most anticipated read of the next year is The Devils by Joe Abercrombie.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. How did I forget about that?
Right?
Yeah, I love Joe Abercrombie.
And people are like throwing up these physical arcs that I have written email after email for, and I'm like, Urgh!
I don't know how they get them.
Hell of respect. I hope you love them as much as I would. If I don't get to read it till it comes out, that is A-okay with me.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. There's enough to read.
Right. Yeah, there is. And let's just put it this way. I'm not even done with the first Law series yet. So I have a lot to read. Yeah. I'm only on book 3. So, that's the end of it. But, there's lots of books in between.
Yeah. So I would say before the books in between, go right into the second trilogy. It starts with A Little Hatred. Those are incredible. Incredible. And then you can go back and read the in between, the interstitial stuff.
Okay. I don't think standalone-ish.
Yeah, the standalone ones, which are really good, like Best Served Cold, Red Country, that stuff. That's Half a King. That's good stuff. But yeah, I think the second trilogy is even better than the first trilogy.
Wow.
It's like 30 years. It's like 30 years in the future. So I don't want to spoil anything, so I won't. But
Thank you.
once you finish the third one, just go right into A Little Hatred.
Okay.
It's very, very cool. There's going to be you'll be very excited.
I'll take that recommendation and
Yeah,
write that one down because it's from you, dude. For real. I think
yeah,
we get along on a lot of these book type things, dude. Your wavelength is coming close to mine. So
yeah.
also for book 3, I don't remember what you're calling it, John, or if you even have a name for it yet, but book 3 of the Trials of Sedaine. I'm almost done with book 2. Yours is another one of those that I don't want it to end, right? Okay, so I'm taking my time. Don't be disrespected by that. I'm savoring that bad boy,
Yeah.
and I'm
No, I
loving
get
it.
that.
So I do have to say, man, Noah, anything over 45 minutes, dude, is a natural, exciting, fun conversation. And I just want to thank you, dude, for hanging out on the channel.
Oh, dude, thanks for having me. I highly enjoy it. I love talking books. So,
Awesome.
yeah, you don't
I will
usually
have you back if you
good.
as long as you want to. I'll have you back in the
Happy,
future.
happy to. Loved it. Yeah, anytime. Usually, I just talk to myself about books, so it's good.
It's better to get a response, man, and some
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
got you, dog.
yeah. I appreciate
Everybody
it.
that here was here live too, like seeing everybody's chats and all that fun stuff, man. That just makes it what it is. It's so fun for people to be interested in it just as much as we are talking here on a live stream.
For
So
sure.
thank you, and for everybody that will watch this on replay. Leave a comment for your favorite part, favorite book recommendation, anything, or if you recommend a book, whatever it is, leave the comment because I do respond, just like
Yeah,
Noah,
yeah.
to each and every comment. So we will talk very soon. I'm trying to think. I don't think I have an interview tomorrow or one of these beyond or Booktube and beyond, but I will announce the very next one. No, I'm wrong. What's tomorrow? No, I think the 30th is the next one. But I'll let you guys know on X and Instagram and all that fun stuff. Until then, Noah, you have a
Yep.
wonderful, wonderful time reading. Have a wonderful night, man. Get some reading in. You guys that were here live, y'all have a wonderful day, night, evening, whatever it is where you are local. And we will talk very, very soon. Go and check out all of Noah's links. His link tree is in the description of the video. I'm guessing they can find everything there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
and if you need anything, just message me. I
There
message
it
back.
is. His stuff is amazing. Go give him a follow, a subscribe, whatever it is on Instagram. I forget. I think it's a follow because I
Yeah,
love it and I know you will too. And we will talk very, very soon. Like, share, subscribe. Of course, I have to say that the YouTube stuff.
no, I get it. I get you.
Again, all the links are in the bottom. Noah, have a wonderful night. And you live gentlemen and ladies, have a wonderful night too. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, thanks so much, man.